How to sew a classic shirt. Sewing for beginners. Sewing tutorials supported by AngelaKane.com membership, sewing pattern sales and fan funding. Part 11. Buttons, buttonholes and sewing the hem. The final video in this series. In this video I will show you how to sew a double fold hem, how to place the buttonholes, how to sew buttonholes successfully on your sewing machine, why use silk thread for buttonholes, and how to cut buttonholes. Before we do anything else, we'll do the hem. It needs tidying up a little, so I'm going to trim off some of these threads. I'm removing some of the machine basting that was keeping the button band in place, so that I can get to this part of the hem. As this is not a very long shirt, I'm going to just do a double fold narrow machine stitched hem. After which we will turn the button band back and hand stitch in place. So let's get this edge a little bit tidier. And then we can use our iron to press the first fold. Yet again, I'm using the iron as a tool. It's not just for the final press. If I had had more fabric, I would have opted for a blind hem on this shirt, but this narrow hem allows me to keep the length. Right, then fold again, either pinning first or just machining in place. My machined hem gets a press. And we finish it off by slip stitching those button bands in place, just at the hemline. The shirt is looking good. We have an immaculate collar and immaculate cuffs. The last job to be done. Stitch the buttonholes and sew on the buttons. I have marked the buttonholes on the pattern, but I think it is better to measure the positions directly on the shirt. The type of fabric affects how close the buttons should be, so the markings are just a guide. You want the first button to be 1 inch or 1.5 inches below the collar band. The rest of the buttons are placed every 4 inches in this case. Buttonholes frighten most sewers because they are really difficult to unpick if you get it wrong, and all the unpicking in the world won't get you anywhere once you have cut them. Take care that you get the position of the buttonhole on the collar band in the correct place. This buttonhole has to be horizontal and needs to finish just beyond the centre of the button, which in turn needs to be in line with the other buttons. Get your band nice and flat and in a straight line. So the first button will be about an inch down from the collar band, and then I'll mark the others at 4-inch intervals. The buttons and buttonholes will keep the button band in place. This is a classic treatment for a lady's shirt, rather than having a stitched down button band. This looks really nice, as you can see in this animal print shirt. The folded button band is stabilised by the buttons and buttonholes. There is no stitching on the outside. Always, always test your buttonholes. However experienced you are, fabrics and threads behave differently. Your machine may be having an off day, and we all get out of practice with techniques. Reproduce your button band or cuff using your scraps of fabric. Get the thickness right. I'm using my automatic setting for buttonholes. Check your machine manual for the best method for your sewing machine. I shall be doing a video just on buttonholes soon. I am pretty pleased with these. Using the right thread makes a difference, and silk thread for buttonholes works really well. Your buttons determine the size of the buttonholes. The buttons I'm using are 15mm across. The button band is 1 inch wide, so my buttonhole is 1/2 inch from the edge. Tidying threads can be a problem, as each buttonhole has 4 threads. You can pull them to the inside or thread a needle and take them through, then either knot or sew them in on the inside. Modern machines are supposed to lock the stitch, so you may choose to just snip them off. On an everyday shirt you can use a dab of seam sealant, it works well. I have sewn several test buttonholes and everything seems to be working fine. So after dealing with the threads, let's test making the slit. This is the scariest bit. Some people use scissors or a block and chisel type buttonhole cutter. I find a stitch ripper does a good job. Don't cut from the middle to the ends. It's so easy to go too far. So I insert the point at one end and carefully cut to the middle. Turn round and go the other way. Be sure your stitch ripper is sharp. It is worth replacing it often. Let it glide without too much pressure and it should follow the stitch line. It is not the end of the world if you nick a stitch. You can do a repair by hand or go over it carefully on the machine. We have done the buttonholes for real. I always start with the least visible buttonhole first, just in case, and work my way up. If they all look as good as this one, I will be happy. And now to match the buttons. Mark the positions with pins. I use my machine for sewing buttons on. If your machine has that feature, give it a go. It saves a massive amount of time. That just leaves the cuffs. Take care that the correct amount of overlap is taken into account and that the cuff falls nicely at the wrist. We have finished. This shirt is lovely. The pure silk cost about £10 in the sale. Once you've tried this shirt a couple of times, you could probably make it in a day. I hope you have found this tutorial useful. This easy PDF shirt pattern can be purchased from my site, and of course it is one of the many sewing patterns included with membership. Join for everything, or shop for individual patterns. For news of up-and-coming videos, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much for watching.